What is on-page SEO? Why is it important? How do you get it right? And what are the problems you encounter if you get it wrong? Hi, I'm Mike Phillips. In this video, we'll be discussing on-page SEO. We'll talk a bit about why it's important, the context that it comes up in optimizing for search, a few tips that you want to bear in mind when you're focusing on doing it right, as well as the cost of getting it wrong. There'll also be an assignment at the end of this video for you to practice what you've learned. Let's get started. On-page SEO, also called on-site SEO, is simply about ranking higher. The things you can do within your domain, within your content, to achieve that. This optimization is about using specific keywords, title tags, and other headings to increase your ranking. Combined with search intent and quality content, this optimization helps improve organic traffic. Some of these things to the uninitiated may seem rather complicated. Fortunately, there's actually very few factors that you should focus on that you can build your skill in to increase your performance. Of all the tips we're about to discuss, it's important to remember that optimizing for the user experience, for the humans that are consuming your content, is the most important factor for on-page SEO. Remember, algorithms are machine learning. Machine learning are students of the human behavior of your customers when they're searching, learning, and consuming your content. If the humans are exhibiting positive behavior, the algorithm learns from that and shows them more of that behavior. The most important factor is to remember all of these tips and tricks with on-page SEO are meant to serve people first, algorithms second. In the end, those people who are happy with your content will become your customers. And SEO is all about increasing business results. So let's dive into 3 key tips I think you should learn as you think about how to do better on-page SEO. My first tip is URL structure. Google has stated that page URLs help it understand what a page is about. So how do you optimize your URL structure? My first recommendation is to consider hyphenating all the words in your slug. For example, if you were visiting a website about this course, you might see SEO Masterclass. Instead, you would put SEO-master-class. It gives a much cleaner way for bots to crawl and understand, but it also makes it really easy for a human to scan the URL, know where they're going, and what to expect when they get there. Optimizing your URLs in this way helps search engines understand what your page is about and position it relative to other content on the web. My second tip is to consider on-page headers, how you're using them, where you're placing them, and what they say. Again, first and foremost, from an on-page SEO standpoint, headers make it very easy for the humans consuming your content to know what it is they're reading, especially if they're skimming through the content. Additionally, think about your own web browsing experience. Have you ever encountered a wall of text on a page with no structural headings? Chances are you didn't read it very deeply, or you may have bounced entirely. Don't put your customers and your visitors in this situation. Break up those walls of text with headings. Multiple headings, including nested topics and subtopics, make it very easy for your visitors to understand what you're talking about. Google is learning from your visitors when they behave in a certain way because they're understanding. Dwell time, interactions on the page. All of these things are important because by increasing human understanding, the human response to that understanding teaches the algorithm that your page is authoritative and important to rank high. When it comes to search engines understanding your content, it's important to put your primary keywords higher up in your heading structure. Headings are numbered H1, H2, H3, so on and so forth, depending on how complex your page and content are. Make sure you have your primary keywords in H2 in a couple of places in your page. I recommend at least 1 or 2 H2 headings should have these primary keywords. Again, considering the human consumption of the content, if it makes sense, have your H3 headings repeat some of those primary keywords. It needs to feel natural and authentic for the people consuming your content to behave in a certain way that will show Google and the other search engines that your content is authoritative and high value. My third tip is about SEO copywriting. Copywriting can literally supercharge your on-page SEO efforts. Copy and the way you put it together is like a silent salesperson, always persuading and elevating the authority of your brand, your product, and your business. It's important to remember, SEO copywriting practices are not just good for search engines. Good copywriting is all about inspiring your visitors, the people, the humans, to have a good experience, to find authority in what you're saying, to feel they're getting a lot of value and a lot of substance out of the content that you're presenting. The best bloggers are masters at SEO copywriting. Here are a few techniques you'll see them commonly use. Write compelling introductions. Clear is better than clever. When you introduce your content, it's important to substantiate and earn the attention of your human visitors. A good introduction will show them what it is you're going to talk about and be able to let them know it's worth sinking their time and attention into consuming the entirety of your content. Create a mix of sentence structures. An entire bulleted list and a single run-on sentence are both extremes. It's best to have some complex sentences, some sentences that discuss lists or have multiple clauses, and others that are short and crisp and singular topics to the point. Oftentimes, this will reflect as conversational language with the added filter of making it easier for a user to skim. The important thing when it comes to the way you structure your sentences is that a person should never feel it takes more effort than is necessary to understand what you're presenting. Always write for your readers. This is about aligning their search intent to the substance, to the content, to the material you are speaking about on your page. If a user is visiting with an early stage education or awareness query, they're not going to want to be pitched. Their intent is not to buy. Their intent is to learn. Write for that audience. Create a separate piece of content for the visitor who is already aware and educated and has some interest in what you're offering. At that point, you can start comparing and contrasting to help them evaluate whether your solution is the right thing to buy versus a competitor. Matching buyer intent is key for on-page SEO. When it comes to content that's conversational and keeps readers moving down the page, I like to build structures that lead them from one line to the next. Some of my favorite phrases are, "Here's the thing," as an introduction to a sentence that's delivering an important point. "That is why," as a sentence that follows an important point made before. These sorts of conversational turns of phrase help a reader feel like they're learning. It draws connections between ideas. This avoids a common problem where sentences in your copy can feel like they don't belong next to one another. And it keeps the readers moving down the page, consuming your content to the fullest extent. The last copywriting tip I'll leave you with here is to include emotional language. The idea of SEO is not just to inform. It's to inspire loyalty, affinity, attachment to your brand and the solution you're presenting in your content. The conversational language will do it, but so are the ideas you present. Juxtapose what you're teaching against real pain and frustrations that your visitors may be feeling. Be able to teach things in a way that maybe dismisses poorer content. This way they relate to you as an authority that understands their needs better. If you can be a better teacher compared to something else, a more emotionally satisfying solution compared to a competitor, you will have higher authority ranking for your content because your human visitors will identify with and connect with the solutions you're presenting on your page. Here are some pitfalls that new SEO specialists fall into. Remember we talked about buyer intent? This is an easy area for you to improve right out the gate. Match the content you write to the stage of the buyer's journey your visitor is in. If they are early in their buying journey, they may be trying to become aware of the connection between a pain they feel and whatever the root cause of that pain is. They may just not know that yet. This visitor is not interested in buying. So if your content pitches them right away, they will consider your page as less authoritative and less useful than a page that served the needs that they came to your page with. The flip side of that example is a high intent buyer. This is a buyer who is aware of their problem, is aware of you, and is aware of your competitors. They're not trying to figure out what's the source of my pain. They're trying to figure out whether or not to buy. Inside of this group of whether or not to buy is whether or not I need to invest in a solution. This is a buyer who will need content that helps them understand the impact of ignoring solving the problem. And then the highest intent buyer is someone who is deciding whether or not to buy from you. They're trying to decide which vendor is the right solution because they're buying one from somewhere. These places are where you need to reduce friction and reduce fluff. Connect the dots, make an easy path. Less frills are important here. More proof. This is the type of content your high intent buyer will value and will rank you higher. The pitfall of making any mistake with implementing on-page SEO is detrimental rankings. According to Backlinko, only 0.78% of search engine users will click at all on the second page search results. The pitfall of doing on-page SEO wrong is reduced authority, reduced importance, and you may be relegated to that second page. Above 99% of users will only engage with page 1 results. If they get to the bottom of page 1 and do not find an answer to their question, rather than clicking on page 2, more commonly, your potential visitors will just ask a new query. This is why it's so important to get on-page SEO right. Let's talk about a way you can practice the knowledge we've just discussed in this video. I recommend you pick a site and begin auditing it for SEO. This could be yours, or it could be a competitor's. However, I want you to take out your mobile phone, go into Settings, and look under Accessibility Features. Turn on View in black and white. Then look at your page or your competitor's page. Auditing a site in black and white helps you view the content from a new angle. It strips away the visual elements and it gives you only structure. It also helps your brain focus exclusively on what is interpreted in the language and the wording of your writing without being affected by color and spacing. This is especially important if you're auditing your own content. This simple shift in viewing it in black and white versus full color lets you see something that is otherwise familiar with a new light. Sometimes when we are close to the creation process, our view becomes colored. We see it differently than we would if someone else had made it. So adding this black and white filter helps remove those rosy goggles. It lets us see familiar content in a new light. You've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for learning with me. You now understand a little bit more about on-page SEO. You know its definition, you know why it's important, you know a few tips about how to get it right, and you know the pitfalls of getting it wrong. I hope you enjoyed learning with me. I'm Mike Phillips, and I look forward to seeing you in future lessons.